Hey guys, welcome to the Land of Confusion vidcast, web podcast, whatever the heck we call these things. I'm Dave March, aka Tory War Writer. This is my partner over here.
I'm Don Tillman, aka Enamel at Nod.
You actually
no one figured that one out.
And here we are today with William Welsh, who's also known on the show, on the forums as Boss Mongo, and we're going to talk to him about some of the stuff that's going on, about him and about the stuff. And Boss, this is the first time we've got someone sent us a CD, and Boss has an incredible nice long history here. The only thing I didn't see here in amongst your many accomplishments, I mean, you were like what, the instructor at SEER?
I was the commander of the SEER school.
Yeah. Wow. So what was you? But you're now retired. So what did you retire as?
I retired as a lieutenant colonel, and I will tell anybody that is thoroughly the appropriate rank to retire. You don't want to promote me to full bird colonel. You don't want me being a general. Lieutenant colonel is about right, because when you're lieutenant colonel, you can still be the guy with the axe in his hands and not, now colonels and, some generals and admirals would be like, okay, hey, Brendan, go in and prep the objective for me. But yeah, so just like, did you guys see Representative Hank Harris, the Democratic representative, who's, I guess he's got some mental issues, but he was questioning an admiral in a committee meeting because we're
Hank Johnson.
Hank Johnson. Yeah. And he said, well, we're worried that the island might flip over. Okay.
The island of Guam. Yeah, it was
in Guam. And that admiral that was briefing him was a consummate professional, and I would not have been.
Yes.
So that's just my prima facie evidence that I got out the right rank, and I got.
But that was a beautiful deadpan line right there. It was like, we don't anticipate that happening.
I think we do not anticipate that happening. Yeah, that was long.
That is so deadpan. I love it.
Yeah, I remember reading a book on special operators in MACV-SOG in Vietnam, and it was talking about this one guy who ended World War II as the youngest light colonel in the American Army, and at the beginning of the Vietnam War, he's the oldest light colonel in the U.S. Army.
Right. Yeah, it's all, it gets weird in some ways, but what I done, I wouldn't change any of it, and the rank I left at was entirely appropriate.
Okay. Yeah. So I sent you some questions in advance. I'm kind of being like a CNN that way.
Yeah.
We'll just call you Donna Brazil.
Yeah. So where were you born, and what was it like growing up there?
Well, so I was born in Athens, Texas, and I didn't grow up there. In fact, I've only been there intermittently over the years, because my dad was, and don't mistake this for like the international man of mystery thing, but my dad was a communicator for the CIA. So they were stationed, my folks were stationed in Okinawa, which is where they met. They came back so my mom could have her squalling brat there in her hometown, and then they went back to Okinawa, and I grew up mostly overseas. I think when you look at domiciles, I think the 4 years I spent in college were the longest I ever lived anywhere.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was good. I mean, at least I can say I'm a Texan, but my brother who lives in Texas now is like, yeah, that's weak sauce, bro.
Good thing you got to be the head of SEER, so you can at least have that accomplishment.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not too hard to tell, but I did ask, why did you become a conservative?
I don't think, and I heard Postmodern Hoplites. I was doing a little G2 on you guys because I hadn't seen this feature before on Ricochet, so I watched. And
well, we're new.
Yeah. but it was never a matter of becoming. I mean, I lived in Chiang Kai-shek's Taiwan. I lived in pre-Thatcher England and was there just when she won the election and took over. I lived in Master Sergeant Samuel K. Doe's Liberia, and everywhere I lived, it was just a matter of our Constitution is the best social contract ever made. So if by conservative you mean conserving our Constitution and supporting adherence to that, I just got it on examples by misadventure from the other places I happen to live.
You lived in Liberia?
I did. And we moved there from England.
What the hell was that like?
Well, if you're a teenager, it was awesome because everything is legal. There's no drinking age. There's no, it was kind of off the chains. But one of my mild superpowers is I'm able to live vicariously through the oopses of others. So after seeing a couple, 2-3 kids get sent back home to go to the Valley Forge Military Academy, I realized I had to learn to self-regulate. But no, it was off the chains. It was awesome. When Doe had taken over, he started the People's Redemption Council. And so for a while, I'm more than sure this is not still the case, but the national anthem for Liberia was Bob Marley's Redemption songs. Yeah. So you'd stand up before every basketball game or soccer game or whatever, and old pirate, yes they rob I, and it was just it was interesting. Yeah, it was an interesting time to be there, and a beneficial age to be there because, like I said, it taught me how to self-limit because you can go off the rails pretty easily.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, the next question I think is one of my favorite. A penguin joins the Zoom call right now wearing a sombrero. What does he say and why is he here?
What he says is "Viva la revolution," and what I say is, "Hey man, how can you show up virtually and not have prepositioned some tequila or agave with me beforehand? You're no penguin."
If you had said he's Frobisher and looking for, and he says his name's Frobisher and he's here looking for the doctor, I would have been very impressed. Because
sombreros are great. I kind of invented a new hat when I put together a fez and a sombrero. I called it a fezbrero, which I thought I was just invented this incredible new thing. Of course, I found that somebody had on the interweb somewhere had done that first, so I can't claim credit. But yeah, fezbrero. Piece of headwear. You should definitely.
Okay, I'll look
party.
I'll look for one online to add to my sartorial splendor.
Yeah.
Are fezzes still legal in Turkey?
What?
Yeah, because they were identified because when Kemal Ataturk came to power, he wanted to westernize Turkey as much as possible. And fezzes were seen to be a sign of being part of the Islamic community. So he's a super secular. And he actually, I think for a time, I think they amended it that having a fez on your head was like a death penalty offense.
That can't be right because Turkey's the... Oh, maybe not.
Now it's a very different place. But back in the
Erdogan ain't Ataturk, but yeah, Ataturk did a lot of things like that, as did the Shah in Iran, right? Trying to drag his people into modernity, and each had I want to say limited success, but I'll say graduated failures in doing that.
Yeah. I thought Turkey was the largest source of fez manufacturing.
Okay, maybe. I'll have to look that up later.
Part of the research on the fezbrero.
Oh, okay. they certainly have probably allowed fezzes to become legal by now with her gone in charge.
And I don't know if you remember the cartoon character Morocco Mole was a sidekick for one of those Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Yeah, he had a fez.
Okay. The next question is the ones that I like to do. Why did you join Ricochet?
From National Review, I started listening to the podcast and basically just got guilted into it by Rob Long. And I was like, yeah, look, if I'm going to listen to this every week, I got to pay for the freight. So joined, the incredible amount that they were asking for. They said cup of coffee, but I was like, I don't know where you get your coffee, bro. But so joined, and then have thoroughly enjoyed it, especially the back and forth and everything that happens on the member feed. I'm a huge fan of. Mm-hmm. So it has been an investment that has paid off geometrically for me personally.
We make fun of Rob's pleas, but they pay off.
Yeah. No, fine. I mean, I was listening. I was like, God, could they get through this part? Let me hear the rest of the podcast. And then I was like, okay, I got to pay up, And it was only for because I thought I was paying for the podcast. But then once I started going on, I found myself just simply amazed at the breadth and depth of the knowledge and perspicacity of all the people that are on the member feed and how much they know and the different niches of subject matter expertise. Just amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to start this show, because I felt like there's so many amazing people out there and they have amazing stories and they never get to share them. And that's what I hope to do here. We can get every week, we can get a new person in.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great endeavor. Like I said, I must have missed it somehow, but a lot of times with the amount of time I have to dedicate to Ricochet, a lot of times I'm just chasing alerts that I get, but I went back and watched as G2 for this program or this evolution. I went back and watched last week's with Postmodern Hoplite, and he and I have exchanged communications before, and I saw that Rush Babe had been one of your guests.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to go back when I get the time and watch that episode, just because my love for Rush Babe knows no bounds. So
yeah, that was she was the first person I wanted to interview, so and we got her, so great. Another thing, my question is, what is the thing you most like about this little thing we're on?
About Ricochet?
Yeah.
What I like, and it sounds, if it was any other place, if were it any other place, it would sound like just like cliche pablum. Mm-hmm. But it's the fact that, number one, it's the level of debate that I see, and two is, as I alluded to earlier, just the amount of subject matter expertise. When when the coronavirus came out, and I think it was Mendel came up and said, yeah, look, I do viruses, and I can tell you this virus hasn't been weaponized because we would see telltale signs, and this is what it is. Mm-hmm. I was just, and that's just one example, but I was just humbled. I was like, man, these guys over here are smart. Mostly.
He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He's a professional.
So I guess the best way to say it, and I'm sorry if you can hear my German Shepherd.
Yeah, I love the German Shepherd.
Downstairs. Yeah, I love them sharp-nosed, pointy-eared dogs. But no, I guess it's the number one is it's the breadth and depth of knowledge that you're exposed to by people who actually know what they're talking about, not say some journalist or college professor who didn't know how to pronounce hydrochloroquine 3 weeks ago, and now is telling us why we should or should not be taking it. And then also when I write on Ricochet, I enjoy the level of feedback that I get, because I get some. I mean, there are very few times I think where you can actually say feedback you get is actually creative criticism, but the critiques I get and the criticism I get is outstanding, and sometimes I might be a little butthurt, but literally it is people trying to make me better and smarter, and so it's a place that makes me a better writer and a smarter person. So what's not to love?
Yeah. So why don't we? That's a great way to segue in, like we're Rob and James and Peter, and we can just move into the whole
That's
whole
no
writing
segue.
thing. You're involved in all these great writing projects on Ricochet. Want to tell us about how you got into that? Were you writing before you joined Ricochet, or is that something you picked up while on the groups?
Yeah. No, actually, this is the way he's talking to my commander, See, sir, what happened was me and the boys went away to church, and then, so what happened was I joined Ricochet, and I'm not under true name, which is Brendan Welsh. I'm under Boss Mongo, just because at the time I was an active duty military officer, and it would be inappropriate, and I very rarely posted or commented, just because even though it was not under my name, it's inappropriate for a military officer to come down on anything political. There's a lot of political stuff that happens. But my personal plans were when I graduated, when I retired, when I graduated out of the Army through retirement, I was going to write like the great American action thriller, and it just kicked my butt. And what I realized is I was kind of like a guy who'd been a CPA for his whole life, working all day, every day in a cubicle. And then the day I retired, said, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go out and run a marathon. So a lot of the fiction writing I've done on Ricochet have been short stories that are meant as workups to being able to write longer form fiction.
Or friction.
Fiction with friction, which those are the sexy parts, and I'll not talk about those. But yeah, so I just started doing it, and I've really enjoyed doing the short stories on Ricochet, and my writing has gotten better before it, and especially because the comments that I get in the stuff I write, and then the PMs that people send me saying, hey, this, not that, you kind of might want to refine this, way. So it's been an incredible learning experience for me. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of the group writing, and I've just sent to Clifford Brown, who runs the group writing. What I'd kind of like to sort of kind of see is he gives a great, like every month has a great subject, and you can take that topic and do anything you want with it, right? Like in November, because that's Thanksgiving, it might be gratefulness, and you write, and you can do anything you want with that. The one that actually spawned one of my first short stories was called Elimination. And I was like, oh yeah, I can eliminate some stuff, and so it was a shoot 'em up short story, which, by the way, in Intel Drop, pretty much anything I write in short stories is going to have like explosions and gunfights in it. But
cool.
but one of the topics I offered, and it was based on something that I kind of did with my daughter for my last short story on Ricochet, and it was let's have a month of group writing where the topic is bar bet. Where everybody who signs up, their topic is assigned to them from someone else who has signed up. And it just sounded like it would be fun. So So, and also, Dave, I saw and I apologize if this isn't the exact right, but I saw the Spy Guy
Yeah.
episode that you posted, and um, and I liked your warning to people that might be dallying with Antifa and LSP. And what you said was, you do not want JSOC in support of the FBI showing up to your door because they will kill your dog and burn you out of your house, right?
Yep.
And all I want to say is, number one, I feel I can say with some amount of certitude that most of those guys like dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so unless you've got an uncontrollable 137-pound,
it's not so much the JSOC guys about that, but the cops seem to like to shoot dogs.
Yeah, and I don't get that. In fact, most of the guys I know would shoot somebody that shot a dog without cause. But the other thing that I would say could benefit from a little bit of meditation is, I don't think the involvement of the military, and particularly the military analytic capability, would be from door kickers.
Mm.
It would be from their analytic capability and their ability to do F3 EAD, which is find, fix, finish, exploit, and then disseminate. And I left the A out, and that'll analyze, and disseminate. But the thing is that's where it would, because I don't think, and again, I'm just springboarding off of your video log or vlog or whatever it's called.
Yeah, whatever you call those things.
But I think all of these tools that think they're so very cool being wrapped up with Antifa and all those people that are funding them that think they can get away. What they don't understand is, since 9/11, we have brought manhunting into high art form. You know, and it's never been authorized to do the level of a deep dive that we do on bad guys. But these knuckleheads, and I think Douglas Floyd was just an excuse to pull the trigger on a O plan that they had locked and cocked anyway. When you look at all the different things that have happened, and so what I would hope would happen is not JSOC guys kicking down your door, but JSOC guys handing a tipper to the local police and say, "Hey, go check this guy out." But no, I just laughed when you said that. If you don't, if you participate in this, JSOC in support of the FBI will show up and shoot your dog. And I was like, come on, everybody likes dogs. Yeah. Now, if you got a cat, different story.
Well, they are vicious.
Yeah. So
I grew up with a dog, so I'm as a kid. Yeah. So I just think I guess I thought it was the most worst thing that could possibly happen.
No, concur wholeheartedly.
Anyways,
so that brings up a question. Why haven't Antifa been infiltrated yet? Why hasn't the FBI or some other organization infiltrated them yet? Now, today, of course, we see that the private sector has James O'Keefe, but we clearly haven't infiltrated the Antifa, and that's the sort of thing we should be doing, right?
One would think. I don't know. So counterintelligence domestically, and that's why Dave's comment in his Spy Guy episode caught my eye was the FBI is the lead for counterintelligence and counterterrorism within the borders of the continental United States. Yeah, and Alaska and Hawaii. So what they have or have not done, I'm sure I have no idea of. One would hope they would have seen that to be prudent to penetrate them and have standing assets they can use. But at the same time, looking at the political shenanigans that have gone on, who has?
Yeah, they've been busy.
Say that they did that. Right. So I don't know. I would hope they've done it, and I hope they're able to illuminate those networks of people that are just, bad people, and I hate bullies, and I hate people that think if they resort to violence, they will, have their way with whatever's going on. So, but I would hope the FBI had already pre-positioned capabilities to do that if it wasn't already penetrated to do so. But
Doesn't
if
look
they
like they
haven't,
have.
what's that? Yeah, it just
There's
makes
nothing
sense.
to indicate they have, right?
Right.
Yeah, certainly I can say I'm a big critic of the FBI and and in this kind of situation, because as far as I'm concerned, yeah, the problem with the FBI is that if you're not an agent, a guy carrying a gun, you're never going to go anywhere. They might have changed this, but I know as late as like the end of the Bush administration, you couldn't, if you were an
Analyst.
yeah, sorry, it was just
Yeah.
tripping on my tongue there.
No,
And it's
it's
like,
hard to
you
say as it is
cannot
to
become
know.
an FBI field. You can't become a bureau chief. You can't become a station
Right.
chief in the city. And they have such a law enforcement mentality. And then you're taking that mentality and going into counter espionage. And I'm not surprised that there aren't, because they want to convict criminals. There's a great
Right.
book by I read by a CIA guy, Bamberg or something like that, and he wrote in it when he was sent to the counter-terrorist center pre 9/11 in New York, and he walks into the room and he's there and he's got like a very early version of like an iPad there, and he's taking notes during the meeting, and all the FBI guys are in that room getting their briefing, and none of them have notebooks, none of them have pens. They're all just listening there. And he's like, what is this about? And then he goes and asks a few of them, and they're like, oh, anything we write down can be subpoenaed.
Yeah. No. So, okay, that's a problem in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
Now that, and I'm sure that was pre 9/11.
Mhm.
But I've even been coached up by the United States attorney that prosecuted the people that like the Cuban ring of spies that were located in Miami. Big surprise. Back in the 80s, and she went through detail by detail, because one of the things we always heard, especially when the FBI wanted us to go off and play on our own, was, oh well, you guys, you never want to be called to testify. And I was like, okay, thanks. I went to that same brief that I saw you at, and here's route 1, route 2, route 3, where my testimony would be acceptable to the court, and but I will tell you, the FBI outside of the 495 Beltway, those guys, those cats are awesome. I mean, some of my personal heroes and guys I've worked with both overseas on fly teams, and I have no idea what the acronym FLY is with the FBI, but the fly team guys and the guys I've worked with domestically while we were trying to connect dots from overseas to back home, they were just outstanding Americans and patriots, and it breaks my heart for them when I see the kind of shenanigans that are going on now. But you do have to realize what culture you're working with. The FBI is going to be very law enforcement focused, although they're kind of getting a little better about that. Like DEA, if you work with DEA, they cannot. You're like, look, give me a month and a half. I'll illuminate the entire network. You'll be able to roll them. But DEA has got to have that photo op of the money and the guns and the drugs on the table. They can't say no to that. It's like you tell, sometimes they think, yeah, we really should wait. No, bust them all. Have a photo op. So, but some of the best, and when I say best, I shouldn't say best. Some of the most flexible, tactically and operationally flexible guys I've worked with have been from Homeland Security Investigation, because it's a relatively new entity, and they don't have a corporate culture, which is kind of stultified. So but just have done some great things with them, and have not done some great things with them because the things we were about to do were so great that everybody turned it off. You know, so but yeah, so it's just every different, and I'm sure, I'm more than sure that any of the agencies I met with, any of the agents that worked with me could point out weaknesses within the DoD, and it would probably be valid. So I don't want to sound like Mr. Know-it-all. I'm just saying you kind of have to gauge your target audience, right, and know exactly what you're doing, with whom you're working, and where they come from.
Yeah, just it's almost as if there's more evidence of Antifa infiltrating the FBI than FBI infiltrating Antifa.
I would.
No, that's a joke.
I would take.
Right.
No,
I
it's
would
a
take
joke.
them out of. I would take counter-espionage out of the job of the FBI and create a new agency. I think that would be the best thing. Just my idea, but I think we were talking about Antifa. I think the FBI is probably, because it's a cell structure network. Yeah, the FBI has probably got local field offices, have probably got contacts with local Antifa guys, but they don't have an understanding of the larger picture. So they're probably working sources, but then they're treating it as a source, not to the local protest movement. They're not thinking that these guys are organizing nationwide to go out and cause riots during a pandemic.
Right. And what I would say is that's where, because you don't want people that work for JSOC to be kicking down doors and doing police functions within CONUS unless it's unavoidable. But what you do want is them using their analytical capability, and they're like I said, manhunting has become high art. So turn them loose. Every guy that gets arrested should have his phone pronged, his computer slurped, which I know that sounds kind of dirty. I always like saying it, but everything they have should be put down, cross-reference with every other guy, and whatever OPSEC measures these Antifa guys think they have, and whoever their financiers and puppet masters, whatever OPSEC they think they have, I would be willing to bet that it would be a tissue paper in a hurricane, because when you see the boys focus on and drill down on something, the results are nothing less than staggering.
Yet we haven't seen that.
It's been a few days, Tom.
Yeah, it's been a couple days, and there's a difference between being authorized, actually getting authorization issued by the president, codified by the Secretary of Defense, and promulgated by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to get down to the different than a tweet, right? So there's a process, and that process can be. That process does have built within a quick bureaucratic reaction time for certain events, but I'm sure that they're just waiting, and most of the guys I know over there would just be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, let's give us the authorities we need to go do this, and we will ankle all these guys.
Yeah,
so. I would love to see that.
And I think we'll see that over the next few months, as I pointed out in my Communist Revolution post. I think that we'll see most of these guys wrapped up over the next few months, but it does take time to spin up and actually investigate and get all this information and start sifting through. Right now, people should be more concerned with just getting the riot stopped.
Right, and that's more the realm of the police with boots on the ground and the National Guard that can come in and support. And I made a comment that now that the National Guard's in, because I've seen the videos of these people slamming themselves into the shields of these police, and saying, yeah, maybe I might take a hit from a nightstick, but it won't be all that and everything. But you bring in the National Guard, there are two magic words that will let you disassemble either a mob or a riot. And those two magic words are fixed bayonets. Works every time it's tried.
Yep.
I'll write that down.
Yeah. Was it? I used to read well, I still do read them all the time. Jerry Purnell, his books, and he said, "What was it? Every generation always assumed that of military has always assumed that they'll be the last one to have to use a bayonet."
Right. Well, and the U.S. Army's done the same thing, right? And every time, in almost every serious conflict we get into, we have troops using bayonets. To include, there was a bayonet assault based on a near ambush by a bunch of military police in Iraq. I want to say because I was there. I want to say 05 or 06, something like that. And, just, putting something sharp and pointy on the end of your rifle, just, to me, there's no downside.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What else do we got here? What is it?
Well, actually, Mongo's posting, I think it's the #1 on the member feed right now.
Okay. What we got there on the member feed?
You want to check that? I think.
Yep. Well, the #1 I have a few words about Archbishop Wilton Gregory.
Yeah, that's not mine.
Yeah. Of industrial policy, viruses, and fleas.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was.
But what has been your latest post there? Were you saying the member feed or the main feed?
The member feed. I think it's for your reference or something. It's called.
Maybe he's made it up to the next level.
Wait.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just wrong.
Oh, because it's relevant?
Because it's relevant. That's it.
Yeah. So all I did was I looked at the joint publication 3-24, which is the joint doctrine for counterinsurgency. And in that, there's a graphic. And I'm too IT retarded to have been able to pull that out of the, that I tried for about 37 seconds and then gave up. But a couple comments down, Adahan did it and put that graphic in there. But it was kind of like, okay, so if you look at what they say an insurgency's goals and aspirations are, and how they're going to get there politically and militarily, read that, and then read how the U.S. conducts counterinsurgency, because I think what we have going on is a true blue insurgency meant to overthrow our systems of government. So I said, so you can read the rest of it to kind of see, to kind of get a feel for what you can expect coming from our government. And but the biggest thing was the imagery that, like I said, Adahan pulled out. I said, see this image on this page, and he pulled it out and put it in the comments. And it's just a list of political and military activities that the insurgents will do, and it's kind of like an ascending ladder. And it's a little bit spooky how far up that ladder we are, So
I just kind of like when the riot started happening, and I'm just like thinking to myself, holy crap, this is actually happening. This is this is stage 2 right out of the communist books.
Right.
Insurgency manuals is like, what the hell just happened here?
Yeah, I was trying to explain. So one of my daughters, and I'm more than sure she'll come back to me, but she rushed down because the dog we're babysitting for had some issues and emergency trip to the vet and everything. But just in our talking, she's kind of like, and I love this. I love hearing this from one of my kids. Dad, you just don't understand. And I'm like, no, sweet pea, I pretty much understand. But it was very difficult to get her to understand that, okay, you have protests. And I was trying to explain the whole concept of agitprop. right? And that there is a cascading effect that happens when you turn a crowd into a mob. There's a very kind of programmatic way to do it, and that the people that do it then always kind of fade into the background and let the mob run rampant. And so just trying to explain that to my 20-something daughter, I was not getting a lot of traction. I was like, okay, go back, go away, go home.
Yeah.
But she'll get it eventually. That's the thing is, I don't know if I would have gotten it. Actually, I would have gotten it at that age, but it's difficult to explain to your children, like, look, because I'm now a pretty new empty nester, and which I love. I've declared total naked Saturdays within the house, but wife hasn't bought into it totally. The lovely and talented Mrs. Mongo is still, holding out, but I'll get her to come my way. But no, it's just there's some things I try very hard not to push on my kids, because I'm like, you have to have an experiential base to get a lot of this.
Yeah.
So I just smile. And Dave, can I ask you? I gotta ask, because you had the conference room, like the National Command Center, is your background before. Is the background you got now from Aliens?
That's the one's from one of the Star Wars, I'm pretty sure. I was going to make a joke about it and say, is this like how it was over in Iraq, right?
Yeah. Well, with all the cables running back and forth. Okay, but it just looks like the Operations Center in Aliens. So
yeah, and it may well be. I just found operations centers, and when I do the Spy Guy stuff, I just do like different situation rooms. I've
see, I actually thought you were in a conference room, and
there you go.
Yeah, I got whiplash now. But I thought you were in a conference room. But I was like, how come every time when he's gesticulating, he reaches his hand back and it disappears and everything goes kind of like.
I have a boom microphone right here, and you can't even see it. I don't even know how they do that.
You really need a SpongeBob background.
I have seen them,
and there are a bunch of good ones. We can, it's you get your dream background, whatever you want.
Yeah.
If I could be anywhere, where could it be?
I don't know. This is the first time I ever been on Zoom. There is now a Zoom.gov, which I have no idea why that's considered more secure than Zoom. It was just probably somebody earned some money doing that. But no, this actual discussion is the first time I've ever been on Zoom, even though I've heard a lot about it.
Virgin.
Yeah.
Hey, quiet you.
Yeah, what is it? When I first went on Zoom for like a Ricochet, like just get together, and I just realized this is so damn simple. Why don't I use this all the time? And then I've started doing stuff like the show, my own channel. I'm just goofing around. I'm like on my Facebook. I'm a war gamer, so I have all these war games I've been playing by myself. I've been uploading the videos to Facebook. It's been a lot of fun.
Outstanding. Yeah, no, like I said, I'm not, I actually, if you count Ricochet as social media, it's kind of the only social media I'm on. Just from reading news articles, I can see no reason to ever get on Twitter. And I know I would sink to the lowest common denominator, which is not what I want in my life. On Facebook, I finally, again, and one of my things is, one of the things we taught our students in SEER is no matter what they're doing to you, respect costs you nothing, and I was pushing at the boundaries of that, just because, one of my things is, if you were sitting across from me at a diner, you would never ever say that, Now, it might be because it would incite me to commit homicide, but the other thing is because it's just not the way someone talks to somebody else. So, Facebook was fun for a while when it was kind of just I thoroughly enjoyed getting in touch with people I hadn't talked to since high school.
Right.
Yeah.
But it got kind of toxic, and I found myself unable to respond like somebody whom the United States government had declared was an officer and a gentleman. So I just kind of stopped with all that.
Right. I think from a business model point of view, I think Facebook is pretty remarkable, because if targeted advertising is worth anything, Facebook has the targets so accurately down. Your advertising dollar there just gets right to the people. If you've got some product that happens to appeal to a demographic of, say, lesbian didgeridoo players in Wyoming, got it right there. Right. Not a problem. And I think it's a business model for targeted advertising. I think Facebook is just amazing, and it's great for high school friends, and it kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah, just not. I like again. So I'm a discipline up front guy, right? If I don't do my push-ups and my pull-ups first thing in the morning, I know I'm not going to do them later in the day, especially because now since the lockdown, I've been kind of following this beer for breakfast path that doesn't lead itself to doing world-class kettlebell workouts, but it's like discipline up front. I don't go to bars. If I do go to bars, I've got somebody who's pulling my left and right security for me, and we go for a little bit. I have 2 beers and leave, because discipline at the rear end of an arc of activity never ever works, and so what I noticed was I just was not an authentic human being, and not the person I wanted to be when I was on Facebook and somebody said something retarded and needed to have a smack on the nose. And I was like, but this means nothing. If we were at a diner, I could say this and maybe it would have some import, but so I let that stuff go.
Unfortunately, I have to be on it because I'm one of the few guys in my writing association who actually knows how the internet works. So I have to run our Facebook pages.
Right. But that's different. You're running it in support of an enterprise, or an endeavor, and it's not just Tory war writers, personal thing. So that's a little bit different. So pretty much, I'm a sad and lonely man, and but I enjoy Ricochet.
That's why we have Ricochet.
That's right. And Don and I have talked on some of the audio meetups, a couple, 3-4 times. Now I noticed, Don, in the last one, you had keyboards in the background, and now you've got your string electric guitars in the background.
Yeah.
All I want to ask is, how hard are you trying to rub my nose into it that I'm a totally incapable musician in any way? Like, I was proud of myself when I remembered FACE for FACE.
Keyboards are just down there. It's not,
Yeah, he's using his iPad this time. So
right.
Got a different angle.
Yeah, no, I'm just, but so Don, you got anything going on? I know we talked a little bit before about your work, but anything going on musically that's different than the last?
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's sort of, my music work kind of, got put on hold about roughly the same time my twin boys were born. And I have no explanation. I have no explanation for that.
Right.
and I haven't got got it back in enough yet, but I will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's the perennial cry of the parent, right? Is I haven't gotten the time to do that, to get back to doing that yet, but I will. You know,
Mhm.
I'm the same way about 4 or 5 things. I just envy. I'm looking at some of the strings behind. I'm like I couldn't. Now if you wanted to hire a big drunkard that during a concert could smash the guitar over an amp, I could do that. But anything else, I'd be lost at.
But,
I just collect them over the years.
It's awesome. That's awesome.
I just haven't done anything productive musically. I mean, a little bit last year. I mean, I'm playing bass in a jazz trio, and a couple of gigs last year. But well, the pandemic makes it a little difficult to play out, right?
yeah.
Well, think about me, man. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, and the pandemic's kind of put the squelch on all that,
Yeah.
So, but we'll get back to normal, and I think quicker than most. When people say there's a new normal, I tend to disagree. I think we'll be back to.
Yeah, I don't think shutdowns will ever be allowed unless there's like they'll have to have real evidence before anyone will be allowed to do this again.
They seem a little too happy to say it's a new normal. They just, they just seem a little too gleeful.
Right. The new normal is we can tell you what you can do, when you can do it, and where you can go. That's the new normal. And, the thing is, if you tell the great American public, hey, look, we need you to do this short term. It's going to help. You're helping your fellow citizens. They'll jump in, because there's no, in my mind, and again, I've lived all over the world. There's no citizenry better than the great American public. Americans are awesome. And I'm saying that as a guy who's almost a virtual outsider in a lot of ways. But once you start saying, yeah, the new normal is, I can tell you where to go, when you can go, and how you're going to do it. I just see that endeavor running out of gas pretty quickly.
Yeah. Some of these states I'm looking at. I just can't believe New Hampshire. No one has gone down to Sununu's house with 100 guys with rifles and just said, "You're done. We're putting in a new governor."
Yeah, what happened to that live free or die thing?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, New Hampshire. We expect more of you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's the classic joke is that's on license plates which are made in prison, right? But New Hampshire's not stepped up really.
Yeah. And
Max?
especially since they had all the Free State Project moved all in there, and like they're supposed to be Libertarian Central, and not much has happened. It's kind of been disappointing. What? I guess we can have the presidential talk if you want to talk about that. There, Mongo, you want to weigh in? What do you think the president's chances are?
Look, I'll be the first to say I'm thoroughly. His hair's not orange enough, man. I'm totally unqualified to comment on it. I think Donald J. Trump will win a second term, but I realized way back that I was, because every time when Bill Clinton was running against George H.W. Bush, every time I heard Clinton speak, I wanted to take a shower. And I'm like, there's no way this guy will ever become POTUS, and he did for 2 terms. So I've learned that my ability to judge these things just, I don't trust my own prognostications. But I can't. But again, if someone said make the call, I would say Donald J. Trump wins it. And whether it's a close call, whether it's a landslide, is yet to be seen. I think a lot of the precursors for that particular explosive are still being combined and mixed now, and we'll see what happens.
I got seriously.
I got to say, the camera angle on this is just amazing.
Well, I think we're running a little bit out of steam on this.
Hey, before we go, I have one thing.
Okay, cool.
As you know, I think I've said, I'm out of the way. I've said before, I'm not really a big fan of the LED light bulbs. Right. I know, this replacing of incandescents with LEDs. I'm as an electrical engineer, I'm a big fan of LEDs themselves. They're wonderful, but as a solution to energy, I don't think they're very good.
Right.
And they're supposed to last forever. Okay. This one died recently. This is LED bulb that lasted less than a year, I think. So they do not last forever. However, that said, these guys pretty robust. That's good. So that's my thing for today. It's my bit of helpful.
Well, they're certainly better than the ones that would, when you break them, they would poison the house.
that's the Gore bulbs, the spiral fluorescent bulbs.
Right.
Yeah.
Now here's my question though: is if you do manage to break it, is it the same vacuum thing where that glass will go all over everywhere?
No. It's inside here. It's made out of it's silicon. No, it's not silicon. It's gallium arsenide, I guess. But it's
gallium arsenide. I should have known that. Yeah.
Some silicon, some gallium arsenide, and some other materials. But it's just a speck of stuff. It doesn't need to be under a vacuum. It doesn't need anything. It's good to go. It's actually pretty good in that regard. My basic issue with them was that you're not really is that incandescent bulbs, any waste, any inefficiencies are in the form of heat. And if you use that to heat your house, now the hottest day of the year, okay, it's not a good argument, but if you use that to heat your house, they're 100% efficient and there's no reason to replace them.
Right.
And most of the country, I happen to live in a paradise, it's beautiful, but most of the country, has cold weather a really large percentage of the time and benefits from the heat put out by the bulbs.
I never thought about it that way, but living somewhere where
you're in Florida, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Keys. So the days where the time of year where the temperature drops below 80 degrees on any given day, we call February 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Right.
Other than
do you even have a furnace in your house?
Negative. No.
Okay.
In fact, back from an Iraq tour, but I want to say about 2010, 2011, we had 3 straight weeks where the temperature was in like January, February, I can't remember, but the temperature was like about no higher than 55 degrees every day. And so I came home from some trip and I'm telling my kids, getting them ready to take them to school. I'm like, okay, let's go, girls. Long pants, good thick socks, wear, you don't have to wear boots or anything, but wear a sensible shoe, maybe a sweater, or a jacket. And they're all just looking at me and go, Dad, we don't have any of that. And I was okay. And then the other thing I remembered was the entire island I live on smelled like dead fish, because when it's that cold for that long, and where I live, the water's so shallow that all those fish that are actually sports fish that people, go, it's called going out to the flats. None of them were able to, survive long term without the water at least being rewarmed every now and then. So the whole place smelled like a dead fish. My kids were shivering little, imps, and I was like, okay, well, stop sniveling, get to school, let's go. You know, um, but yeah, I'll never forget how it was almost like it, it was almost like the inverse of a hurricane. You know.
Almost like that time it snowed in Israel a few years back.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, this has been great. I'm going to ask the question we normally ask at the end of every show. Who would you like to see next in the hot spot?
I have two personnel that I would love to see. One would be Skipsel,
Okay.
because he makes stuff. He's not like me. I break stuff. He makes stuff, and
we had that wonderful discussion.
yeah,
Yes.
and he did an incredible analysis of how to uncouple, or whether we could uncouple from China.
Yeah.
And he had like widget 1 and widget 2, and he broke down where all the different components were made, where the elements for those components were mined. It was amazing. And then the other one I would nominate would be Quiet Pie. He's a security professional. I'm actually reading a book that he commended, called Unthinkable, and he said it was a seminal work. And as a security professional, I'm only about halfway through it, but I think it was a seminal work, and so I think Quiet Pie would be also a great nomination to be on your August show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming by.
We get Skip, so him and I will be talking electronics manufacturing.
Oh yeah. Wait. Let me add the caveat. Have Skipsel on. You two are not allowed to geek out. You can't be
we will.
microtrons and
I will try and
conductivity and stuff like that. It just doesn't work for everybody else. Come on, Don. You know, be part of the team.
Okay, well, this has been the Land of Confusion, whatever the heck thing you call it. And this is Dave Marsh, there's Don Tillman, and William Welsh here.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
bye.